Now, please give us a warm welcome to our next speaker, Dr. Marwa Azawi, Director Middle East at LBST Company, will be presenting CertifHy and Beyond Unlocking Hydrogen Market Access Across Regions.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here, and thanks for Opus for organizing this. Today, I'll give you an overview about CertifHy. Before doing that, I would like to introduce myself. This is Dr. Marwa Azawi. I'm the Director and Senior Consultant at LBST. So for those who does not know LBST is a consultancy company with the focus on hydrogen. They have more than 40 years of experience in the field of hydrogen. And we are talking about CertifHy today because they are the ones who developed the CertifHy scheme. CertifHy scheme is recently approved by the European Commission or recognized by the European Commission for RFMBO certification. So why hydrogen? So we have seen the potential of hydrogen in decarbonizing different sectors such as industrial sector, transport sector, building sector, and industrial sectors. That's why we started to see, like many countries, started to, that would be better. Hello? Hello? Yeah. So that's why we started to see many countries worldwide including or developing strategies to include hydrogen in their strategies. And accordingly, to make sure that the hydrogen we are producing is compliant with the requirement and it's green hydrogen, the several governments as well as voluntary schemes started to develop, and we have seen this development in mainly 8 countries. So the focus is from EU, and in EU we see it as legal basis. And this legal basis is the RED II requirement and the associated CDRs. The associated CDRs is the Sustainability Requirement 1184 in 2023 and 1185, which set the GHG calculation methodology for RFMBO. RFMBO focus not only on hydrogen, but also on derivatives as well, such as methanol or ammonia. Accordingly, voluntary schemes started to develop in the EU, and recently several certification schemes was recognized by the European Commission. In the UK, we also have seen the development of low carbon H2 standard, and revision 3 was published in 2023, and it became operational in 2025. So just recently. The aim of this scheme is to facilitate the trade. We have also seen some requirements from Japan. Japan identified the threshold. They also revised their strategy like they published their strategy in 2017, and they revised their strategy in 2022. And the focus in Japan is on blue hydrogen. In Korea, we have seen last year the publication of Clean Hydrogen Certification Scheme, which identified different thresholds, and that threshold can be achieved based on different technologies. And they focus mainly on well to gate, while if we look at Europe, it's well to grave. But this certification scheme was again revised 2 weeks ago. And then we can see other countries also focusing on this development, such as US, California low carbon standard, the GEO scheme in Australia. India published its certification scheme, and it's adopted just end of last month. And there is the Chinese scheme. So these are the development worldwide. But today focus, since I'm talking about CertifHy scheme and I'll be focusing on CertifHy scheme, I want to give you an overview about the legislation in Europe. So if we look at the legislation in Europe, we have the Renewable Energy Directive and we have the Gas Directive. Under the Renewable Energy Directive, is set or the RFMBO is defined. When the RFMBO is defined, it also set the requirement or the target to utilize the RFMBO in the transport sector as well as in the industrial sector. Accordingly, to make sure this RFMBO is actually green, Europe has defined Commission delegated regulations. These regulations are the sustainability requirement as well as the GHG calculation methodology. So these are two requirements that each project developer has to meet in order to be certified according to the European requirements. So it's not only the GHG emission threshold, but it's also the sustainability requirement. What are the sustainability requirements? It's something related to renewable energy source. So there are certain requirements you have to comply with, such as temporal correlation, geographical correlation, and additionality. And recently in the EU, in December 19, if I'm not mistaken, 2024, the European Commission has recognized 3 certification schemes. Those are CertifHy, ISCC, and RED2. And those schemes, they can certify the hydrogen or the derivatives, or we call it RFMBO, as green or as RFMBO. Then we can also see in Europe, like the focus of Europe was all the time green. But then recently in 2024, the gas directive defined the low carbon hydrogen. And we also saw the publication of the draft delegated commission, which sets the requirement for the production of low carbon hydrogen, or how to identify the low carbon hydrogen and derivatives. And it also set the methodology for the GHG calculation. And we have also seen like it include CCUS as part to reduce the emission, not only CCS like in RFMBO methodology. But if we look, there is no certification scheme yet for low carbon fuel methodology. So this is something to be developed in the future for sure. Why CertifHy? So as I mentioned, there are different certification schemes, and these certification schemes are approved by the European Commission. So why do you want to go with the CertifHy scheme? Because CertifHy scheme, the main focus of CertifHy scheme and the development of CertifHy scheme was done mainly for hydrogen. So it acted as market facilitator. And this is in collaboration with the European and international hydrogen stakeholders. It also certifies a strong brand, and they have been recognized by industry, NGOs, and policymakers and investors. And we are strongly connected with the EU policy. So if we look at the timeline, how CertifHy scheme evolved throughout the years, so it started in 2014 with the NGC scheme. That's a book and claim scheme for hydrogen. Then in 2021, they started the development of the RFMBO voluntary scheme. In November 2022, or end of 2022, they started a product which is called pre-certification. So we know there are so many projects at the moment, announced projects worldwide, and all these projects are still in very early stages. Those projects need to make sure they are in compliance with the requirement if they want to export to Europe. They are compliant with the requirements that's set in the Renewable Energy Directive, or the revised Renewable Energy Directive, or what they call it RED 3, as well as the delegated regulation 1185 and 1184. So they started the pre-certification, and they offered the pre-certification to different clients worldwide. And we have seen like one of the projects here in Oman announced last year, if I'm not mistaken, beginning of last year, Hyport Duqom was pre-certified according to CertifHy scheme. In March 2023, they sent the application to the European Commission to be recognized. And recently, end of 2024, the scheme was finally recognized by the European Commission. And I would like to say, just last month, we have completed the first certification. How does the certification process work? So you need to know it's the economic operator who selects the scheme they want to work with. So for example, the economic operator, let's say the producer of hydrogen, they contact CertifHy, okay, and they select the certification scheme as CertifHy. But they have to select also a certification body who will do the audit. And that certification body needs to be recognized by the certification scheme and need to be accredited by accreditation body according to ISO 17065 and 14065. The economic operator also has to make sure that when they select the voluntary scheme has to be approved by the European Commission. And as I mentioned, CertifHy is recognized by the European Commission. If you noticed earlier, I mentioned the pre-certification process. And I told you like this pre-certification process can happen at early stages of the project. So if you look, when does the pre-certification process start? It starts at the pre-feed stage. So at the pre-feed stage or the feed stage, they come to us, they tell us we want to go for a pre-certification process, and I will tell you why economic operators sometimes need to go for pre-certification in the next slides. Then once they take the FID, they will start construction. Then before commissioning, you will start the initial audit. The initial audit has to be done by a certification body. And then you have to do a second audit, which has to be done by within 6 to 12 months. And every year you have to do re-audit. So it's like similar to any certification process, where every year you have to reconduct the certification. Who is involved in the CertifHy scheme? Who is involved in the pre-certification process or in the certification process? In the pre-certification process, if we look, there are 3 entities involved. So when you want a pre-certification process, for example, you will contact LBST. LBST will tell you what they do. Okay, so they will coordinate between you, between CertifHy, and between the certification body. They will offer you advisory, and they will also do quality control. CertifHy is the operator of the CertifHy scheme. They also train auditors, and they clarify a specific project or specific topics related to projects. When it comes to the certification bodies, they offer, for the pre-certification phase, they offer a critical review. A critical review according to the scheme requirement. But when it comes to certification phase, they will offer you a certification, or what we call a third-party verification. But you have to make sure that those certification bodies are approved by the scheme, and they are also accredited by ISO 17065 and 14064. During the pre-certification phase, they offer you the critical review report. CertifHy, there are certain benefits to do pre-certification. What are the benefits for pre-certification? So it identifies the non-compliance. If there are any issues within your project design, it identifies these. The red flag, it gives you red flag, yellow flag, and then it recommends certain changes to your project design to make sure that you will achieve the certification in the future. It also certifies it clarifies different questions between the certification scheme as well as the client. It also gives you confidence that you are in compliance with the European requirement, and it also convinces stakeholders to move forward with the project and to achieve the FID. So if we look like, for example, if you want to secure public funding or such thing, or investment, you need to go for pre-certification to make sure you are in the right track. The pre-certification happens for each stage of the projects, for each economic operator need to be certified. So the entire value chain has to be certified. What is the pre-certification process, and what's the difference between critical review, for example, and pre-certification? Critical review can be conducted by a certification body. And there is a difference for sure between the pre-certification and the critical review. Because pre-certification process starts with the project setup. So for example, at the kickoff meeting, we discuss with the client, we ask them what data they have and what data they have to feed us in order to start the pre-certification process, and we clarify the scope. So what could be the scope of the economic operator? Then we start with the data preparation and consultancy. So for example, we ask the client, do you have project design document? Do you have visibility study? Do you have the GAG calculation? Do you have heat and mass balance? And for example, if the client does not have the GAG calculation, we can conduct the GAG calculation for the client. The third phase of this project, so once we have all these data and we collect all these data, we cleanse the data, we do a mock audit. A mock audit is our critical review, what I call it critical review, is conducted by a certification body. So we ask the client, do you have a preference for a certification body, or should we recommend you a certification body? And then if the client does not have any preference, we select a certification body, we feed them with these data, and then we ask them to do the critical review. Once they complete the critical review and they send us their report, their critical review report, we start to check this report and we identify what are the issues or what are the changes that they have to make in order to meet the certification scheme requirement. And finally, we will start writing the CertifHy report. So the pre-certification process involves not only us as a consultancy company, but it also involves the certification body, and it involves the CertifHy scheme. That's all from my side, and I just want to give you an overview about LBST. As I mentioned, LBST is a consultancy company, uniquely for 40 years has focused on hydrogen issues. So they've offered consultancy related to mobility, renewable energy, sustainability, and as well as GAG calculation. And we have worked with the private sector, so as well as with the governmental sector. We help the governmental sector to develop regulation, and we support the private sector in implementing these regulations. That's all from my side today, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
It's a quick one. Thanks for the talk. Just wondering, as a new business starting a business in generating hydrogen, when is the best time to contact LBST?
The best time to contact LBST is at early stages. So at the early stages of your project, we can provide you with consultancy, different consultancy based on whatever you need, like techno-economic studies. But if you want to go for a pre-certification, then you have to contact us at the pre-feed stage.
For pre-certification is before starting the development of the product or before releasing to the market?
Yeah, that's why you need pre-certification. Pre-certification at the design stage to make sure that you are, like when you develop your project, you will be in compliant with the European requirement, or to make sure to identify any gaps that you have at the moment and overcome these gaps before you enter the feed stage or the construction stage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, thank you.